Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. In order to change the front shock absorbers on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to have complete access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. Raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the 2-axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. During this operation, you will work on the steering system of your vehicle. Checks on tyre alignment, when carried out by a professional, will guarantee that your steering system has been perfectly aligned and is in good working order. You now have to remove the stabilizer link bar. It connects the stabilizer link so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. As the components to be removed are very often sized up, don't hesitate to brush and to use a penetrating oil to facilitate the operation. Start by loosening and removing the upper tie rod end on the sway bar link. To do this, take a 16mm spanner and a 5mm Allen key. Stop the rotation with the Allen key and remove the nut using the spanner. Remove the nut and then the sway bar link. Unclip the brake hose. Using a wire brush, brush the threads on the shock absorber foot balls and spray them with degreaser. Using a socket wrench and a 22mm socket, unscrew the 2 screws on the base of the shock absorber. Hold the nut with a 22mm spanner, then remove them. Disconnect the shock absorber base from the stub axle. The base of the shock absorber should now be free. On this vehicle, the shock absorber heads are accessible. However, on the passenger side, it is necessary to remove the coolant tank. Unscrew the screw holding it in place with a 10mm socket. Then, shift the expansion tank. Remove the protective cover from the shock absorber head. Using a ratchet, a 21mm socket and a 6mm Allen key, unscrew the damper retaining screw. Once released, hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish unscrewing with the other. Remove the shock absorber. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find a description of the tool used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful! Pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use a 21mm open-end spanner to loosen the screw holding the upper spring support. In extreme cases, it will be necessary to use the impact spanner. Then, remove the upper spring support. Remove the shock absorber.
All parts used in this tutorial are supplied by our trusted partners. These partners also help us create as many video tutorials as possible. Check them out in the description below.
You will find the bulk parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Take your new shock absorber. Push on the actuator to remove the security lock. You need to pump several times on the actuator to get the system going. unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Put in place the sleeve bolted on the shock absorber rod. Position everything in the spring. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Then install all of the upper spring support, the turning stop plate, the spacer, and finish by screwing in the lock nut onto the shock absorber stem. Make sure it is well tightened. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. Put the filter block in place. You have now finished preparing the new part. Start by putting the shock absorber in place. Put the upper suspension strut bearing. Then screw the head of the shock absorber back in, starting the process by hand. Then finish with a spanner. The final tightening should be done with a torque wrench. Using a wire brush, clean the stub axle to make it easier to insert the shock absorber. Then put the screws back in place. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a torque wrench. Reclip the brake hose. Put the rod back in its place and screw it back in. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a torque wrench. Put the wheels of your vehicle back on and lower it to the ground. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.